Welcome to Three Questions, where critical thinking is king, and my opinions and the opinions of my guest today are just here to support your learning and understanding. Hey, I'm your host, Meghann, and I'm so honored you clicked on Three Questions today because I have a very special guest. I know I say that every time I have a guest, but my guests are special. And with no further ado, I want to introduce you all to my business partner, the inventor of the fuse ladder, a Pilates teacher extraordinaire, and that's just scratching the surface, Mariska Breland. Welcome to the podcast, Mariska.
Thank you, Meghann Koppele Duffy.
So it's so funny. Always when I introduce people, it's so many things a person does. So I always put like a kind of a real big bio and all this stuff in the notes so people can learn more about you. Because as I said, we're just scratching the surface. Now, it is funny. Mariska and I we've been business partners at the Neuro Studio since 2014, but did we meet in 2012?
I think we met in 2013.
2013. You know I'm bad at dates. You know I'm bad at months. It's just so funny because I feel like I've known you for a lifetime, but I feel like we're just getting started. So
True.
I'm going to get right into question one for you.
I don't know what the questions are, by the way. She didn't tell me anything.
Oh, I don't give anybody the questions.
No,
Well,
not even
there was
me.
one instance, and we won't get into it, and what I want it to be, like Mariska, when I interviewed my parents, asking questions like that, it can catch people off guard. I promise no questions will do that. That wasn't my intention. But I kind of want the unedited version. Mariska and I are both a little unedited. She is much more polished of a speaker than I am. So, but I'm sure we'll get some out of you. So anyway, you have lived with MS since 2002. You are in
Correct.
remission from breast cancer. You have recently
Correct.
picked up and moved to Malta. Most people would describe any or one of those things as pretty life-altering. Those are just three things of the many things. So my question to you is something we talk about a lot. What has all this taught you about what actually matters? And what do most people get wrong about resiliency? That's the real piece I want to dig into.
This is hard. So this will probably be just train of thought because
Love it.
obviously I don't have the questions in advance. So I think that stubbornness is a requirement so I just actually finished a memoir, and it started off when I started writing it about living with MS. And it's totally not about that anymore, because what it really ends up being about is my need to control things and about how you actually don't have that much control. But
over anything.
maybe we try to control what we can. So
Is that why we get along so well?
maybe we're both control freaks and we both want the world to work exactly how we want it to work. So I think that, my very initial response to being diagnosed with MS was trying to control it, right? Because I was just like, oh, I am going to diet and exercise my way out of this, and I'm never going to have any symptoms. And so I feel like a lot of my success has been through being very stubborn. But
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Because I never, ever interrupt you. That's a joke.
No, never.
Never. I am being defensive for you. And stubbornness, I don't think is a bad thing. But could we frame that in, were you stubborn or just curious and not taking no for an answer, which I guess is stubborn. But I just see you as a more curious person. Am I wrong?
My mom would have called it something different. So my mom would have said, like, that I had stick-to-itiveness.
Ooh.
So it's like, I would just, like, if I'm up against, like, a brick wall, I'm just, like, just keep going at it, because I'm like, they were like, oh, it's, God's plan. I'm like, fuck that. I've got my own plan. Like, this is, Mariska has Mariska's plan, and Mariska would like to like all the world to fit into my plan. So I think that like that stick-to-itiveness, that stubbornness or whatever, I think that's really important. But I think that the later two things, so the breast cancer and then the moving to Malta, were really about sometimes you don't have any control. And then it's like that, what are you going to do with your one life? It's like, do I want to, if I only live as long as my mom lived, I would only have like 9 years left. So what do I want to do with the last 9 years if that's all I'm getting? And because I have had progression of MS stuff over years, because even doing things as perfectly, and I definitely wasn't, but even if you're doing things as perfectly as people would say
you've done everything that you've been told to do to get it better. And you and I have then said that wasn't enough and figured out more. I mean,
right.
Am I wrong?
But yes, but it's like even doing stuff like that, it's like 20, I can look back and say I had symptoms in 1999. So looking back over 27 years of like having a medical condition, you're probably going to have some stuff add up over time, So I always joke that I moved to the most inhospitable place to have MS. It's like Malta. It's a rock. It's like everything is steep. There's stairs everywhere. It's like there's tripping hazards. But I'm like, what is my favorite thing in the world to do is like swimming in the ocean. And if I have dual citizenship and I can move somewhere where I can go swimming in the ocean for 6 months out of the year, every single day, like I want to do that. Like sign me up for that.
Yeah, and people might not know that Mariska has her mom is from the Netherlands, so she has dual citizenship. Because some people will be like, Malta, why'd she move to Malta? And you know what I always respond? Why not? Why do people move to Florida? Like,
yeah.
And I noticed
a big reason for Malta was.
Oh, go ahead.
A big reason for Malta was getting on like the European health system, getting on the public health system, because I'd had both the MS and the cancer, And so when we were looking at the cancer and looking at like the politics stuff and the constant, like, let's get rid of the Affordable Care Act, let's get rid of whatever, or like premiums are going to be like thousands and thousands of dollars.
And you have multiple pre-existing conditions.
I have many pre-existing conditions. And, moving to somewhere where I immediately can get on the public health system and literally have all of, you pay into Social Security, but it's like, but then all of my treatments, all hospital visits, all whatever is free under, my paying, like I'm literally paying like 2,000 euros for the whole year, which is about 2,500 US dollars is what I'm paying in to get everything free. It's sort of when Brian and I were looking to move out of DC, we were originally thinking
she is also married to a Brian, by the way.
I know, it's very confusing. We were talking about moving and I was like doing the numbers of like if Brian went off and wanted to start his own thing. And I'm just like, okay, so the deductible on the insurance was like $7,000. This is like buying on the Affordable Care Act. And then the monthly was like $1,500, $1,600. And that was like a medium policy. And I'm used to like, we need the best policy that you could possibly get. And we were looking at that and I was like, I don't think we can afford to stay here for Brian to do what he wanted to do, which was sort of start his own consulting thing.
So like in we hit the beginning of the question. I know that was like kind of a compound question there, but I want to get into the resilience piece because nothing annoys you more than people telling you, oh my God, you're so tough and strong and that. But before I even let you speak, I just want to say something about you. And based off what you were saying is talking about the healthcare, being fearful of, your mom passed young, having cancer, not having insurance, not being able to afford. I admire how you, instead of letting the fear freeze you, you took action and created the life you wanted to live. And so people often label you as very resistant and strong. And I know that that bothers you a lot. Can you share a bit more of that to help people communicate with other people like you better? Does that question
that's
make
interesting.
sense?
Yeah.
Do you know
I
why I'm
think it's one
asking
of,
it?
yeah, I mean, I think I understand why
Yeah.
people want to know. And the best I can say is that really most everybody handles what life throws at them in some sort of way, right? It's like I very specifically chose not to have children because that seems like a lot that I wasn't willing to do or didn't want to do. So, but I know that I would have done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have no desire to watch a kid play soccer, but if I had a kid, I'd go watch them play soccer. It's like, so for me, I got medical conditions and I have to like live around them. And the big reason for moving to Malta is I didn't feel like I was doing a very good job of living, that I was doing a really good job of being in my little cocoon and I had all my shit figured out. And it was like nothing was ever really challenging me. And I spent a lot of time at home and I was losing stuff because I wasn't active enough. And I didn't want to have that. But I had this really interesting conversation with my new neurologist in Malta, and he was looking at how much baclofen I take. And he's like, that's a lot. He's like, are you tired all the time? And I'm like, the hell do I know if I'm tired all the time? I'm like, I'm in chemical menopause. I've been on this medication for like a decade.
What does that even mean?
What does tired mean? I'm like, I have no idea. It's like, to me, I don't, I think what people see is they see me like doing things and whatever. And it's like, they don't see the Mariska sitting on her ass watching a lot of Netflix.
Of us
It's like,
sending gifts back and forth. Are they gifts or memes that we send on Instagram? Or are they just
well,
Instagram posts?
we send posts and reels, and then
Reels, yes. Did you
the
see the two
gifts
dog
that
ones I sent today?
I didn't yet.
Oh,
I'm sure they're fantastic.
very good. They're good ones. But I think how I asked the question, based off what you said back to me, I don't want people to understand resilience. I want people to have the insight that I do, because I think when you look at someone dealing with a lot of things and seemingly deal with it, we're like, oh, I admire them. They're so resilient. But I know firsthand how that kind of annoys you a little bit. I don't know. I think I kind of want people to hear what you actually hear when they say that, because when I understood that, it completely changed the way I talk to people.
Yeah.
Is that a better way to ask the question?
I mean, I guess to me, it's like, I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't something I like practiced. I practiced resilience. It's just like, you're like, I mean, in terms of like my medical history, which you know probably better than anyone because you've always had to suffer for me. I mean, I have had the absolute shit beaten out of me in terms of stuff that has gone wrong, like constantly, to where I'm just like, again, like, what are we doing here? So, it's almost like, well, I do dissociate. So I think that that's what my therapists always tell me, is that I'm really good at dissociating and not actually feeling my feelings.
Did we talk about it?
But I've decided it's necessary for me. And so part of my resilience is that I can like, it's not healthy. I don't recommend it, but I can sort of separate everything. Or is it healthy for you? I've decided it's healthy for me because I'm very good at it, according to therapists, is that I can just put everything into a little, okay, whatever. Like today we went to the beach this morning and I was going into the water and I was like, I'm probably going to fall going into the water, because you know how like it's hard to walk into the water when you're going to the beach. And if your balance is not great, it's like extra hard. And I like totally fell. And I was just like, I don't know any of these people. So if they're like judging me, I'm like, I don't know them. I'm never going to see them again. It was fine.
So in order to be resilient, if I could repeat it back to you, so I'm learning and everybody else is learning, I'll quote my grandmother, everybody has their own mishigas. Maybe it's stress with kids, stress with health. It's how can we compartmentalize things and take one step at a time? And you got to make choices every day. I think the choices you made most recently, because people are like, are you stressed that Mariska moved to Malta? I'm like, no. She lived in D.C. We didn't see each other every day. We talked. She's a night person. I'm a morning person. We're going to make it work.
Actually works out.
She's happier.
Fabulously. Yeah.
Like, you're happier. You're living more. Like, to me, that's the bet. Don't you want the people you love to be happy? You know, so I kind of, maybe the lesson we all can learn is maybe don't wait till things get catastrophic to live the life you want to live. Is that a good lesson?
I mean, people always say, and it's like almost, so predictable now that people say like, on your deathbed, you don't wish you worked more or whatever. And it's like, no, I've loved my work. But I have not spent the right amount of time doing not work things. And I think that actually is something that people can fall into if they do really like what they do. Meghann, where you're just
I don't know if you listened to the podcast with my dad. I don't know if we addressed it, but my dad and I both talk about the fact that we like to work and rest and hang out with our family. I said, Dad, we need a hobby. We got to figure something out, dude. And he's like, yeah, I got to figure something out because I don't know how much longer your mom can stand me in the house all the time.
That's the retirement
she's
thing.
Sleeping sometimes, Mariska.
That's very creative. Like, take note.
Yeah, she'll say because my dad is like me, so we have a lot of energy all the time. She'll say if she's in bed on her iPad, she'll just put her iPad down and pretend she's sleeping.
I think that sounds like resilience to me.
There you go.
It's adaptation, right? It's like, it's all about adaptation. So I have this new friend in Malta.
Hold on, wait. Go back to what you just said, because I feel like that was the answer to the question. And that's why I love this stuff. Adaptation. It's like, why can't we just adapt? It's so hard.
I definitely don't want to adapt to certain things. Like, I do not like big no. Like when people my friend Stacy, who is the Bravo TV person that I went to, the casting agent for reality TV shows, which is so cool. So went to the beach with her this morning, and she was saying like, forget where it was, but she was like, you should, for the bus. She was like, you should get like a handicap thing for the bus. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And she's like, you should totally do that. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, it's almost because
is
adaptation.
There a reason? Because it's then labeling you as disabled. And remember, you like told me years ago, you said, never describe me disabled or decreasing disability. And I said, got it.
Yeah.
That's a true.
Even though I legitimately have like walking disability. I legitimately have balance disability. Like, legitimately I have it. Like, I can't now safely walk downstairs without a rail. Like, that's something I'm working on, but it's like, it's also like a fear thing. So I'm like freaked out like about it. So I've had to come up with my adaptations, but it's like, as long as I can, this is like getting into Mariska's deep seated need for like therapy resolvement. Is that a word? Resolution.
Mariska, I know you be as comfortable, you share as much or as little as you have, but know that it's going to help people if that helps.
So I very much like to be invisible. I don't want people looking at me unless they're like, your hair looks amazing. Like, that's fine. But I don't want people watching me and judging me. I think that's the thing. I mean, nobody wants to be judged. That's everyone's
not
biggest
appearance.
fear. Yeah. And I think a big part of it, which was interesting because writing the memoir really like brought this out, because I didn't really recognize it, that, I am out here selling myself as a good mover and a good mover with MS. And if I can't live up to that, then I'm sort of like, my whole identity feels like it's that I'm losing it, or that I'm, it's being attacked. So,
but you are living up to that. What does a good mover mean?
I
Like,
mean,
look at, okay,
I'm
look at
not
me.
as good of a mover as I was. I think that's the thing. It's like
Yeah, but like,
losing abilities, which a lot of mine were changing what I wanted to work on. Because we had this conversation about when I had my mastectomy and I had frozen shoulder at the same time. And then my trainer, who I really liked and I worked with for like 5 years, like twice a week, was like trying to push me to lift a heavier shoulder press than I wanted to. And I was just like, I feel like he's not seeing me where I am in this moment because he knows that I could have lifted like heavier before. And then I was also like, I can do all this badass stuff, but my walking is definitely getting negatively affected. And then that was the thing where I was just like, I'm going to change everything, which is very
oh yeah, I told that story
adaptation.
yesterday.
Were you
No, do
telling
you
stories about
remember?
me?
No, no, no. But I was actually, I was sharing with a student a lesson I was trying to relate to them and sharing a mistake I made. Because remember, we were talking about you making some changes in your routine, but I kind of didn't say anything. And then I said something. And, the one thing about our partnership is we have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful.
Where
You're always,
we were talking about two totally different things. Because I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. So you
Well, hold
had,
on. Let me finish the story about you first. And then of when you then kind of came to the realization of that. And I said to my husband after reading the text, he's like, what are you huffing about? And I go, because I've been telling Mariska this for years. And Brian Duffy looked at me and goes, way to make that about you. And I said to him, F you, you don't know what you're talking about. And I sat down and I said, holy shit, I just made Mariska's journey about me. So it was, to me, it leads us into question 2. It leads into your adaptability, change, and our partnership of hard conversations and how I made one of your moments of being adaptable about me.
so because I didn't know in the time that was
Oh, you
true.
didn't hear me gossiping to my husband behind
Right.
your back. Yeah.
Right. But we did have that time where it was like, I can't remember, like it was my
Oh, it was
shoulder
2 different
stuff.
messages. I was
It
reading
was
one
two
and
messages. Yeah. So,
because we text a lot.
right. And it was just an ongoing
Yeah.
conversation. And so I had said something about my shoulder, but then I sent a really funny like video, but I don't even remember what the video was about. But you were responding to my shoulder because you thought the question I had asked, which was about the video, was about my
Yeah,
shoulder. And I was
I
just like,
know.
Meghann, stop trying to fix me. And then you had thought I'd asked for your help. And it became a thing.
Well,
And
that was the precipice of that conversation. But I felt like why I shifted gears on that is I really want to talk about. We're going to circle back to question 1. How I go, Mariska, my conversations get chaotic. I wanted to talk about the tough conversations, the partnerships, admitting we're wrong, and actually seeing each other. So when the trainer didn't see you, and then you communicated to me, I didn't see you and what you actually need. I saw myself first. So I love that you brought that point of when we're communicating with others is it's always breakdown in communication. So something I always think about now when I'm communicating with people is I need to see them first, right? And I actually had a funny intro to question 2, and I'm not going to go there now. What
well,
do
now
you
I'm
think?
curious.
Oh, well,
Well, now I need to know.
I was gonna lead with, well, I have to ask you the obvious question, what is the best part of being my business partner? So I was gonna make it about myself, but I told the story instead. And I was gonna remind you that we're recorded. So any nice things you said about me are gonna be on record, right? But I don't have to make that joke. But I do think what I love about our partnership is we don't always agree, but we always do our best to hear each other. And we don't disagree a lot, to be honest.
Right.
But I think we have grown as people. We have rubbed off on each other. I am really proud of our business relationship. Really.
I think we like complement each other in that we have slightly different interests. And I think, um, because I was trying to describe it, like, and write about it, I was like, we at this point have differing degrees of ambition. So it's not like a differing degrees of work ethic necessarily. It's different ambitions. It's like different, like, what do we want? So, like, as we run the mentorship together, Megan's like got all of her research and all of her whatever. And I'm like, let me talk about how to move to an island because that is my
You're
level of
not giving yourself
ambition.
credit, but
But you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're in different places. So I'm older than you and I have MS and you work tirelessly and I work tiredly. And that's
yeah.
just
Well, you
kind
know what
of
was
how things are
interesting?
sometimes.
Don't you think the conversation we had last time you were here about you're like what when we were talking about ambitions and things, we didn't understand. We thought I think we both assumed each other's ambitions. And we were talking about like you're very political and you're something that drives you, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the world should be fair and equitable and it's something that really sits with you. And I said, I feel the same way about movement in the sense of people deserve more. What they're getting is not enough. I feel like I have to give this information because I don't want people being more disabled than we could. And we both realized where our passions were and what our ambitions were. I felt like that was probably the most, I feel like that conversation landed hard with me. Did it land as hard with you?
I feel like I knew we were going to have a conversation and I feel like I prepped for it because I was nervous about how it was going to be taken because I think
Yeah.
that we sometimes it's not that we have really differing goals. It's just that I'm like,
Well, we do have different goals. But our
well, we do,
ultimate
but
goal is building our
right,
business. Yeah.
right. And I think, it was just like I wanted more of something and you wanted more of something else. And it was just sort of like, how are we going to meet in the middle on it? So I get very nervous having any kind of confrontation, like sick to my stomach, nervous or whatever. But I feel like what we've always done well is we have the conversation in the right time. Like we might not
Yeah.
have it in the moment. Like I
Not
might
in
be
the
sitting
heat.
there. Right. It's like, okay, I feel a certain way. And then I need to understand why I feel a certain way. It's like, why am I having these feelings about this?
But it
And,
goes back to what you said about the trainer being seen and feeling seen, right?
right.
And I think also the conversations are important. And oh my God, I was talking to my sister about this on the phone about like, she was talking about things with her kids and our family and dynamics. And I was like, yeah, but Kim, there's a flip side of that. Like, I never saw conflict in the house. Mom and dad never fought. This, like, you and your husband, who was our high school sweetheart, I had called her once. Brian and I had a fight, and I was kind of spiraling. And she's like, you don't think John and I have a fight? But I was always afraid of conflict. I feel like our partnership has made, and I'm never comfortable with that. I feel like we have been able to like have those uncomfortable conversations and they're hard. And I'm sure people listening to this, like conversations are hard with people. And I think finding a partner, it reminded me of something my dad said with marriage. I have weaknesses, Meghann. Your mother filled those exact weaknesses. And I feel like I was like, oh my God, Brian and I are the same. You're Brian and you're the same. And even our business partnerships where I struggle, you soar and lift me up. Where you struggle, I soar and lift you up. And I was like listening to my dad. I'm like, I feel like that's me and Mariska as well, which is why it worked. So the question, what builds a good partnership? What is a partnership? And to me, it's finding someone that fills your gaps and hears you and sees you. What's your take on the question? I know it's
I
kind of a
think
vague
like
question.
something because I have two businesses. So I have two business partners because I have Meghann for the Neuro Studio and then Fuse Ladder is the same business partner that I've had for even longer because we're talking about when I had studios because the same person is my
Shout
Fuse
out to
Ladder business
Roxy.
partner.
We love her.
Shout out to Rox. She's in Greece right now on vacation.
Love it.
Living her best life. So I think like I've never saw my parents fight once, like ever. So I also don't feel like I learned proper like conflict resolution because I'd never had seen it. Um, and so if you have kids, please fight in front of them and make up in front of them and like so that they can actually see how it works. I think like an important thing is that each person recognizes what talents the other person has, you know? And it's like, I forget what we were talking about. Um, it was some work related thing. And we're both like, okay, neither one of us want to do that. So we should hire somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was something that I was like, well, we don't need to pay somebody to do that. And you didn't want to do it and I didn't want to do it. And we're just like, we're both going to hate it if we have to
But
do
then I think that was
this.
probably the first time I stuck up for myself. Not that you've never bullied me into doing something. I'm the kind of person, well, I'll just do it. But then I'm like, what am I, making myself a martyr? No, I don't
Yeah.
actually want to do that. So I think that's like big for me. I don't like to let people down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're trying to build a financially good business. So I'm like, well, we can't afford to pay for someone, but luckily you and I have built a successful business that we can do that. You know,
Yeah.
something you are better at than I am and I've gotten better at is saying no. Nope, Meghann.
Oh, I'm so good at it. I am super good at it. Like, and that's actually something that MS taught me was delegate. Like, I was just like, you know what? And this was like in my previous like video production career. And I was like a creative director and I had people worked under me. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Let's have somebody else do it. Or like, if you have to do like certificates for somebody and put everybody's name on it, that's like you pay somebody's kid $10 an hour to do it, you know, and they think that's amazing. And
Yeah.
that seems like way better use of time. And I know you have like somebody clean your house. I don't have someone clean my house, but I definitely have in the past. And so it's, you know, I
Well,
like
for me, it was
making,
like she can do it in an hour and a half.
oh, totally. How much money can you
While
make
she's
in an
doing
hour
that,
and a half?
I'm working. You know, but it was so funny. Like, it's like, oh God, I feel guilty. I'm like around the house. And you were like, you're working.
Right. And it's like, how does that add? You know, it's like, how does the
Cost
math
benefit
work?
analysis. Yeah.
Exactly. That's fancy.
Yeah.
But it's like,
So
I
I
like
think,
doing
go ahead.
more of the kind of creative, like, I like to make stuff. I like to make little products and like workshops and I like editing and I like writing. And it's like, and you love to be in the weeds, like with clients. And I'm just like, I am a client, you know? So not that I
Yeah.
don't see people, but it's like, I like to do a lot of the work by yourself kind of
You're an
work.
ideas person.
I
How'd you know
am.
that was not, you jumped into question 3 already.
I did.
I love it. But this is the flow. We go with the flow here. So based off what you just said, you're a creative thinker. You're an artist, you paint, stuff like that. So you've created the fuse ladder, which is a piece of equipment. Sometimes you see it over my shoulder this is
It's
the
right there.
older fuse ladder model. That's the newer one that you just saw with Mariska. You co-founded the Neuro Studio with moi. You've owned multiple Pilates studios in your time, educational programs. And something that has been key in our partnerships is understanding that we have a lot of ideas, but we can't execute them all.
I
So
know. That's like the hardest thing for me.
No.
So hard.
Yeah, but let's give you credit where credit's due. How do you decide what to focus on? And how do you know when something is just worth your full creative? So what's worth your full creative energy? And then what is something that might just be an interesting distraction, a hobby versus focusing on for work? I think you've gotten better at this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's,
but then I still have to have my
gonna be a work in
side
progress.
creative stuff. It is work in progress. I think one thing that I just feel like I just want to hammer into people's heads over and over and over again is there's a difference between a passion project and low hanging fruit. And I'm just like people, like because we do our mentorship, and I'm just like low hanging fruit, and they're like, I have this like grant, and I'm like low hanging fruit. Then my husband's starting his consulting business now, and I'm like, it's a cool idea. But
We get a
what
picture of a low hanging fruit and put it on the wall.
I'm like low hanging fruit. And I think like if you are like we are, where we're very much a niche, right? It's like, yes, we could do back pain and we could do whatever, but it's like if you're passionate about something, you are going to be successful at it. So we chose this lane, we've stayed in this lane, and we've really been good at, we weren't always good, but we learned our lesson about not cannibalizing your own business by having too many
competing against
other
ourselves.
things. Right. It's like competing against yourself is a good way to like mess up your business for a long
Burn
time,
out.
because it took us, no, well, burn your list, you know, and it was like, that was like a hard thing that it took a long time to kind of come back from, was when we had made a business decision and we're doing something that we normally wouldn't do, and we weren't focusing on our main products. And then it's like, it really affected our main products. And so then
we
everything
lost
kind of comes
focus.
back to that. Everything comes back to that. It's like, how does this feed into the main product? So now everything, and this is what Meghann always has to remind me of, because I've got all these ideas and I'm still like wanting to make new stuff and create new stuff. And she's like, how do we put that into the ecosystem that feeds the neuro studio, as
But it's
opposed
also
to
been a
wouldn't it be
challenge to
cool?
not harness your creativity. And I felt like in the past, I would say, no, not now. And then it was like hearing my voice. I'm like, number one, we are partners. And when I would say, no, not now, it's because I knew I had to execute that vision rather than saying, love that idea. How can we make that work within this? But also, guys, keep in mind, right, Mariska, we've been at this for over 10 years. If you're starting out, niche down hard. You can do a million things, just do one. So I love, this circles back to what you said earlier of you're finding hobbies, you're going to the beach. So like, I feel like what has been that switch with realizing not all your creativity has to be monetized?
So for me, because I've always had a creative job, right? So it's like my favorite class in school was always art. So I took art as my elective from like 7th grade, when you could have an elective. It was my elective every year. It was always art. And then when I've done lots of drawing and painting and stuff, it's when I didn't have another creative outlet. So I was doing a job that wasn't terribly creative, or, you know, things were slow and or it wasn't getting like a kind of creative like hit. And then I would go back to doing something. So when within the business, I can figure out ways to make things. So I always say, like, I like to have a thing that I can say, I made this thing. Here it's perfect and it's finished, and here you go. That's
Looks
always
good.
been, yeah, that's always been like what I love to do. It's like, I've created something. And then what my biggest problem is, a lot of people who are creative is like, love to start things, less excited about finishing them. So, but you know, I feel like if you, I think I told you something about like wanting to do a little bit of something on like load and gate or whatever. And I was like, it's an itch I need to scratch. So we need to figure out how to put it somewhere, because right now I really want to do a workshop, and that might not be the best thing for us. So we have to figure out how I can scratch that itch. So I think like,
I kind of have the loose idea of where it's going to fit in based off how Saturday goes.
Yeah. And we
so
do
stay
like,
tuned,
I think,
people, because it's going to be great. And that brings us back to the partnership question. So I love when people can get vulnerable in a way that it can actually be helpful to others and meaningful to learn, not just vulnerability for the sense of vulnerability. You know, that makes us both uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
We're like not doing that.
But loving the fact that you're like, I love to make things. I like to create things. I like to start things. It's hard for you to finish them. For me, I am a finisher. I'm an applications cat. I get in the nuance. Is it actually working? So our partnership works because you help me lift my head up and say, hey, psst, 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 lift your damn head up. Look it over there. Oh, it's lovely over there. So I feel like if you're thinking about partnerships, whether it's a business, a spouse, a friend, have people that can fill the gaps that you don't have in a, what's the word I'm looking for, Mariska? In a supportive way, right?
Yeah. So at my, like shortly before my wedding, My husband had read me this story. I don't know where it came from, but it was like in this little book. And it was like basically this concept of in a relationship, and it was like in that case, a marriage, that you have a rock and you have a feather. And so the rock is like Megan's like the rock and I'm like the feather. I'm just like sparkles and like swirl. And you have to, it's like you can't really have two feathers in a business partnership, and you can't have two rocks either, because if you have two rocks, nothing new is happening. Nothing's not that Megan wouldn't come up with new and innovative. She does it all the time. But if you have
It's different
people
though.
who,
It's your
yeah, if y- you can't have two super creative flighty people, and not that I'm flighty, but I can be a little flighty. Um, that those two people are not going to, it's not going to be successful, because you need somebody who like will finish it. Because I only finish stuff by having a deadline. That is the only
and
way anything gets
you like me
finished.
to send you lists.
Oh, I do. I'm like, Megan, just tell me exactly what you need me to do. Send me a
Yeah.
list. And then
But
both
I
Megan and
also
I are
think
actually,
you can be a rock too. And you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's interesting. I get defensive for my guests because listen, sometimes you can't see yourself like other people see you. So yes, you are a feather, but you're also a rock.
but
I'm
one
kind
thing
of
that
a
you and
rock
I,
that can sometimes, well, I was telling this
it's a
story
light,
yesterday too
it's
that
a
I can't
light rock.
float.
It's like, I know that's so weird. It's like you're like kind of a lava rock that's light, but lava rocks probably can float, and you
Oh, so I was
don't do that
telling
so
my
well.
sister, Kim was like, oh yeah, but grandpa taught me how to swim. I'm like, ugh, you didn't teach me how to swim. Meghann, no, I was like, nobody taught me how to swim, Kim. I don't know how to swim. Brian and Mariska both tried to teach me how to swim and float, and they both gave up. They're both like, I don't know what's wrong with you.
It's like clearly you're a rock. But one thing I
And my
wanted to
sister said
say,
Kaylin can't float either. And she's got
oh,
she's got a
interesting.
butt. She's tiny, but I was like, maybe it's our butts.
Maybe that's where the rock is.
Yeah.
But one thing like you and I are 100% aligned on is our never ending frustration with other people not doing shit fast.
Ugh.
Because we're like, why is that taking so, like, I could have that done in a day. Like, give me that. I'll do it immediately.
I think we've gotten a little bit more patient. Not a lot, but a
Not
little
very
bit.
much.
And it's so funny. We're both married. They don't listen. Your Brian and my Brian will not listen to this podcast.
No.
Okay. Both of our Brians move at a Brian pace.
Oh, like we were going to the beach this morning where I swam in the ocean, like far out into the ocean because I can swim. It's like my one thing where I'm just like, I have one physical activity that I will always be better at than Meghann, and that is swimming.
You do have better foot mobility than me, despite MS.
That is true. That is true. I do have better foot mobility. So I was, I'm never late, like ever. And so we were picking my friend Stacy up, and Brian was like being slow. And I'm just like, oh my God. Me too.
Yeah.
Even though we're like 5 minutes late, but I'm not late. So I'm just like,
but again, in those instances, when it comes to patience, we're the rocks. You're the rock on that. Like I feel like, hey, I didn't want this episode to circle around partnerships. I thought it was going to circle around resiliency, but I think you got to the point really fast with one word. I didn't think we had to go there anymore and pontificate and beat a dead horse. And I'm good at beating a dead horse. I feel like my takeaway from this episode is resilience is what you make it. Try to be more adaptable.
Adaptation. Yep.
And find your feather or find your rock.
And I do think that if you are lucky enough in life to be able to be in a business partnership rather than going it alone, I would hate going it alone. Like it, and we always talk about our meet cute, about how I really tried hard to push Meghann away, to not like let Meghann into my life. Tried real hard.
You are my sister. It's so funny.
But, it's like, I think that probably neither one of us would have gotten where we are without the other person playing a role.
You asked me that recently. Do you remember when we had that tough conversation when you were moving Malta? You're like, do you want to do this by yourself? And I said with zero hesitation, I've thought about it before, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think there's beauty. I think you bring so much to the table. I think you support me in a way that is good. I joke you remind me a lot of my sister. It's a compliment, not an insult, in the sense of I remember the first time it happened. I overheard you talking about me to someone, and I was kind of like, and it was, I teased my sister. I'm like, you can sometimes say those nice things to me, and you say lovely things to me all the time, but it made me feel seen. I'm a words of affirmation person.
Yeah.
It felt good to be seen, and I think over time I've had to see you in multiple facets. I've had to see you when you had liver tumors and we thought it was cancer, and then breast cancer, of treating you like Mariska, not somebody with a condition, not somebody sick, because you weren't. These were just aspects. So I think you have made me a better person, and to see people deeper. That I think we see people on the surface. It's so much easier to see them on the surface, man.
Yeah. I think too, it's like people say this all the time and they don't really mean it, but it's like we are like family. Like when I had my
Yeah.
breast cancer diagnosis, it's like Meghann. So if you have breast cancer or anything like that, you want Meghann to come to your doctor's appointments with you, because Meghann is going to remember everything and also ask questions that maybe you forgot. And then you could talk about, like,
And then I could be
remember
bad
that first
cop.
woman? Yeah, well, remember that first woman we saw and we like, but she was dressed really fabulously. And so
Yeah.
she had like a really good aesthetic, but she was like a no.
And
then
your
we met
breast
the other
surgeon. Give her a
doctor.
shout out.
Yeah, Dr. De La Cruz at Georgetown. Just like
Best doctor.
Meghann met
I've
her
never been
with
more
me.
impressed with a doctor.
Yeah, amazing. When a doctor
Amazing.
gives you their cell phone number and times that you are allowed to text them every single day, that I'm like, how do you not choose that doctor?
For me, even more, I'm sure that was fabulous as a patient. But when she said talk to you through the direct to implant procedure, and I asked her, why are more people not doing it? Because she said, people don't want to learn. This is the premier technique. It's better. People are antiquated. Like, she basically was like, I'm the best at this, but she didn't have to say it. She described it so simply. She knew her shit, and she was an example of a woman leading with confidence, not arrogance. It was really impressive to see. Really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, she is sort of the perfect example of that, because she's like one of those prodigy type people that like graduated medical school like 21 or something, and then she just studied everywhere and learned these techniques. And it's like the plastic surgeon, because you have two surgeons if you're having a mastectomy with reconstruction, like the plastic surgeon, who's literally the president of like Georgetown Hospital at this point, was like, oh, she's a way better doctor than me. And I'm like, you're like the head guy. And he's like,
yeah.
I mean,
So
he's
if you have breast
her
cancer,
boss.
know anybody who does, Dr. De La Cruz in DC.
Yep.
Amazing. So I could sit here for another 3 hours, but I try to keep these all at 45 minutes, and we've already gone over, but whatever. You're interesting.
I am so interesting.
I always ask family and friends kind of a bonus question, and I asked my parents, what would they have asked their parents? Is there any question you want to ask me?
Well, see, I didn't think about questions for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who says to you, it's like, oh, Mariska is so inspiring? What would you say to them when you know that I don't like that?
What would I say to someone who says, oh, Mariska's so inspiring?
And I'm not there.
I would say her inspiration is the least interesting thing about her. I would encourage you to get to know her a little bit more and look at her history and the things that she's accomplished. And I think the one thing you should take from her is her adaptability. I wouldn't have answered that question. I like the idea of the adaptability. I would have probably used the word resilient previously. I like the word adaptability more. I think with my clients, how do I always introduce my client, Gary and Nick? I say, hey, he had a stroke when he was 13. He had a stroke when he's 20. That's the least interesting thing about them. I think your MS, I think your breast cancer, I think your broken leg, your liver tumors, the fact that you have a hitch in your giddy up are the least interesting things about you. So I would ask them maybe what inspires you so much about her? The fact that she's an artist and can draw you, or her adaptability? I think I would ask them a question to figure out what they really mean and to help them see you in a deeper way. Because just saying you're inspiring is lazy, it's lame, and it minimizes your life experience and other people's. So I feel like even my answer had anger behind it.
I mean, I do like now that you were saying that. Now that you were saying that, though, I was like, I think because I have my whole thing about like the dumb stuff people will say to you. It's like, oh, my so and so had
That's kind of
MS
what led
and
me to
died.
question one.
Yeah, but it's like I think that people say you're inspiring because they don't think they could handle what you've handled.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, but you haven't had to. So you don't know what you could do if you never had to do it, you know?
I also think it's, what's the word I'm looking for, Mariska? You know, I'm not always good with words. It's almost, is it the word patronizing?
It is
like,
a little patronizing.
Oh, Meghan's so cute.
Yeah.
I'm cute. Like when I'm not going to call her out, but a family member's like, when you talk about science, it's so cute. I'm like, what? This is when I was kind of younger. I feel like when they say you're inspirational, it just feels patronizing. Why do I hear it like that? Because maybe we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Am I using the right word?
I think so. Yeah, no, I think so. Because I think it's like, people a lot of times, not so much anymore, not the people I surround myself with, but especially early on, I would have people all the time be like, how's your health? And I'm like,
they whisper, how's your
health? And I'm like, well, like today my foot's a little bit more swollen than it was yesterday. And I don't really know why.
It's a different shade of purple.
Right. And it's like, it hurts a little bit. It's like, to me, it's such a boring conversation. Like,
that's it. It's not necessarily patronizing. It's boring. I would like people to elevate small talk to medium. We don't have to go heavy, but it's a quote Larry David. Let's elevate small talk to medium. So would it be better if somebody, rather than someone say, Mariska, you're so inspiring, to say, Mariska, would you share with me some better ways to be adaptable? Or is that a lame question?
I think I really think that the reason that I started writing a memoir and then finished it was because I was processing all the things that had happened, but also how I felt about them because I don't feel my feelings, So,
but you are now through the written word, through your art.
Right. So it's like, this is how I felt about this situation. And it's like, it's like, what do women want to be inspiring over? And we've talked about like my lotions and potions and whatever. And it's like,
you want someone to say you have amazing skin, not that you're inspiring.
Like it's the Korean skincare stuff. But, it's like, that's, I mean, I'm still that same
Mariska,
person.
what do you want to be known for? My great skin and hair.
Yes, really. That's it. Just,
Oh my God. Well, I so appreciate you doing this, sharing a little bit more about yourself. I hope you guys learn more about Mariska. I also wanted to share about the partnership and the difficult conversations because people, see all the good stuff. And honestly, 95 or 97% of our interactions are positive. And even those hard conversations have been the biggest growth and learning experiences that college and any course could teach you. But you know what I just realized? And I want to close on this. Dude, talk therapy would never work for you. Remember when we decided, you're like, Meg, I learned through talking. You learn by writing, putting things in your own word. It's amazing. I'm so glad you wrote this memoir. I can't wait to read it. And thank you for all your contributions to the world and to me and my life.
Thank you. I will be pebbling you with some Instagrams, I'm sure, before the day is over. So you're not done hearing from me.
I will expect it. And enjoy those 2 dog posts. So thank you so much, Mariska. And guys, if you have any questions for Mariska, for myself, or want to know more about her art background, the Fuse Ladder, how to create a piece of equipment, how to patent it, how to sell it, how to run an online business, reach out to Mariska, book some time with her, pay for her expertise. She's got a lot of knowledge in that head that is covered by beautiful skin and beautiful hair. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye, babe.